I want to thank everybody for joining us here. Joined by PJ Mustipher at this time. If you have a question for PJ, please use the raise hand feature. I'll call on you to unmute and you can ask PJ your question. If you are currently unmuted, if you could please mute yourself, that would be great. Joe Smeltzer.
Hey, PJ, how are you this morning?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Good,
So how exciting is it just for you to play Ohio State again, being that you obviously weren't able to play against them last year because of your injury?
Oh man, real exciting, dog. I remember I was sitting in the Penn Stater last year because I just got done my surgery. Just got back in town, and it's just like, man, I wish I could be out there with the guys and just watching them, fly around. 7:30 last year at their place. It was incredible to watch, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I really want to be out there and be a part of that. But it's a tremendous opportunity for us. Can't wait to get out there and play those guys again. They got a tremendous program over there, and every time we compete, it's a great game. So looking forward to the opportunity for us and this team.
Tyler Donahue.
Good morning, PJ. I hope you're doing well today.
Absolutely. Same to you.
Thank you. When you came off the field after the Michigan matchup, you told reporters that you were embarrassed. I'm curious how exactly you felt coming off the field last Saturday night.
Felt good. Felt great. We got back to the basics and fundamentals last week. It just, everybody executing and doing their job, not worrying about anything else. I think last week we understood that, we're not on the field by ourselves. It's 11 guys out there. So if you just do your job, we're going to be all right. And I think we got back to that during the week of practice, had a great week of practice every day. And then it paid off on Saturday. So felt really good. But we're just getting started. There's obviously areas to improve. So we'll do that this week and then get ready to rock and roll on Saturday.
Rich Scarcella.
Morning, PJ.
Morning.
What makes the Ohio State offense so productive, so successful?
Well, they're a team that's never off schedule. They want to run the ball when they want to run the ball. They want to throw the ball when they want to throw the ball, and they get a good chunk of yards. And at any time they can have an explosive play. So they do a phenomenal job of executing what they want to execute each and every down. And so, that's definitely a challenge for the defense, because when you get in those situations where it's third and short, third and medium, you don't know if it's a run or a pass. So, they got a phenomenal leader in the quarterback, explosive playmakers on the edge, and a great offensive line. So really all across the board, they're a great team. Like I said, it's going to be a tremendous matchup for us.
Donnie Collins.
Hey, PJ, you mentioned the offensive line. How do they compare to Michigan, and what makes these guys so good?
Oh, they're phenomenal. Michigan had a great offensive line as well. They're really stout at the point of attack. Not too many guys are going to knock them back. They come downhill and they got really good feet. So they're a big group, but they're also an athletic group. So in the trenches, it's going to be a battle. So we can't wait for that. I'm excited for the opportunity to go against them.
Dan Hope.
Hey, PJ, I mean, you guys haven't beaten Penn State and you guys haven't beaten Ohio State in 5 years. Just how does that play into your guys' motivation of, wanting to get a win in this series?
This team's different. The team we have this year isn't the same as last year or 2019, 2018, 2020. This is a different group of men. So we're not really concerned with, what's going on in the past. We're just focused about right now. If we take care of business this week in practice and do what we're supposed to and focus on what we have to focus on, then we give ourselves the best opportunity. So, like I said, we just got to control what we can control, and that starts in practice today and moving forward throughout the week. And then Saturday we just have to go out there and play. It's going to be a great game. I'm truly excited. But the preparation is key.
Ron Snyder.
PJ, thanks for doing this. How would you guys evaluate just how important the start of the game is? You saw how that Iowa game started against them. So how important is getting off to a good start in this game to really give yourself a chance late to finish off and win it?
Yeah, each and every week, Coach Franklin emphasizes, starting fast in practice. So starting fast has been one of the things that we've emphasized, not only in the summer, in summer camp, but also throughout this season. So each and every game, if you start fast, you give yourselves the best opportunity to be successful at the end of the game. So if you start fast, it solves problems. So that's always our goal, and that's what we have to do on Saturday as well.
Joe Smeltzer?
PJ, in your time at Penn State, you've only played Ohio State once in front of a full crowd. 2020 was obviously different. So that 2018 game was obviously a tough call. And what do you remember just about that game and that night?
It was electric. It was electric. I didn't play in that game, so I wanted to be a part of that. But just being there for the whiteout, that was my first whiteout experience. Just seeing that atmosphere, that environment, it truly is something special. When those guys come into town, I'm sure our fans will be excited. But we can't look too deep into that. We got a job to do out there. So, but I'm excited, man. Can't keep saying that enough because they're truly a great program. We're a great program, and we just got to line it up on Saturday.
Tyler Donahue?
PJ, you've seen Curtis Jacobs play a lot of ball going back to high school. Have you seen him play a game like he played this past Saturday night? And what did you make of the results of the move of getting Abdul in the starting lineup and shifting Curtis back to his familiar spot?
Oh, he was flying around. All those linebackers were flying around. And I think that's what we kind of preached last week. Up front, we had to make the job easier for our linebackers, and we weren't doing that necessarily against Michigan. So when your defensive line is getting vertical, getting penetration, and getting knocked back, allows the linebackers to just flow right in and make tackles. So, Curtis has done a tremendous job. He's using his athleticism. Curtis is a smart football player as well. It's not just all about his athleticism. He knows what's going on. And if I know you guys can hear what he has to say in the meeting room, but when he talks, everybody listens because he can tell that he knows what he's talking about and about different offensive formations and stuff like that. So, everything's starting to just shape into form for him. He's made plays all season, but I think he's really just starting to take that next stride and keep getting better and keep developing. So, dating back to high school, he's done a great job. He's always been an athletic freak, but, now everything's just starting to show up and it's paying off.
Rich Garcella?
PJ, I was just wondering, what did you see from your teammates last week bouncing back from Michigan and obviously playing well last Saturday? And is there such a thing as momentum when you have the mantra of being 1-0 every week? And do you feel like this team has momentum?
I definitely think, people don't understand how big of a game, that was for us, losing the way we did at Michigan and then coming back against a Big Ten opponent, that had beaten us in 2019, that, the Minnesota is, they're a great program as well. I don't want to take anything away from what they've got going over there. They're no easy team to beat. And you could see that in 2019 when we went up there and lost to them. So, bouncing back after a loss like that is a credit to how hungry the guys in our locker room are, how tight we are as a unit. We didn't allow anything to stop us. And as far as the just 1-0 mentality, that's just for us to be able to focus on every week, not looking ahead. It's nothing more than that. I know everybody looks to, look into 1-0 and what that means and say stuff about it. But it for us, it's all about in the locker room, just keeping our mindset on the game and the task at hand.
Andrew Destin?
PJ, I want to go back to a point you made there about Curtis Jacobs, how he's continued to develop. How about as a leader? This is year 3 with him now at the program. I know that's a point that had been made both by him and a couple other players that he still needed to develop that voice and was still kind of new in that regard. Is he developing more as a leader? And if so, what have you picked up on in that regard? Thanks.
Yeah. When Curtis in high school, he wasn't that much of a vocal guy. He didn't talk a whole lot. And then when he got here, he didn't talk a whole lot. I'd see him in the locker room and he just give me a little head nod. And I'm like, man, I went to high school with you. You can talk to me and stuff like that. But, he's definitely found his voice in the locker room. You're always hear him in the locker room, out on the field talking or talking trash to the offense. So he's definitely found that voice. That's going to continue to grow as he gets more confident in that leadership position. So, Kurt's doing a great job for us, and as far as defensive wise, and he's only going to get better.
Donnie Collins.
PJ, what did you see on the film from Tyler Elson and Kobe King? It looked like they kind of took a big jump in just a week there.
Yeah, they did. They were playing really fast, really aggressive. Just flying in. I mean, the second play of the game, Tyler Elson had a TFL. And I think that just comes from, I talked about it earlier. I think it just comes from just trusting us, everybody trusting each other. We didn't do a good job of helping those guys out in Michigan. And, that starts with me. I have to be definitive in my gap every time. And when I am, and I'm getting knocked back, and playing vertical, it allows the linebackers to be freed up and make plays. And not saying that they're always free and, that they're not making plays, but if we can do that as a front, then the linebackers are always going to be good. So, I think that they were playing fast, they were playing physical. They did a phenomenal job of getting us in the positions we need to be in. But at the same time, it has to start with us, because we got to help those guys out too, just as much as they help us.
Frank Badani.
Hey, PJ, you talked about Curtis and Abdul Carter. So
Mhm.
could you notice any difference, anything you can point to as the way they played, the way they looked, what they did Saturday night together
Mhm.
compared to earlier in the season? Is there any change there? Is it just development? Is there something you can point to?
I mean, it's those game reps. That was our seventh game of the season. Clearly we're not going to be as crisp as we are at the first game of the season or the second game of the season. We're just getting better. We're figuring ourselves out. Anytime you bring in a new defensive coordinator as well, it takes time to adjust to him, and especially when you're a linebacker. The linebacker position. I know that I don't play it, but it's tough. They have to know a lot of stuff, and especially in Coach Manny's defense, they put a lot of information and stuff on them too. So as the season goes on, you can see they're only getting better and better. And I think that's what you guys saw on Saturday night. So hats off to them. They do a great job. I mean, you guys don't know how much they do for our defense, but they do a whole lot.
Two more questions for PJ. Tyler Donahue.
Yeah, PJ, I'm going to ask you about an offensive player now. Vega Ioane got involved. He was had a nice block on the Nick Singleton touchdown run. You saw a lot of him on the practice field, I'd imagine, since he got to campus. What has he done to get your attention at guard and to put himself in a spot to play big boy football in the Big Ten as a freshman?
Well, he's a big guy as it is. Size really isn't a detriment to him. He's a big dude. He's stout at the point of attack. He's got strong hands. He's done a phenomenal job. He just works and puts his head down and work. He's not really worried about anything else, but just, coming to work every day. Quiet guy, nice guy. Really glad to have him in the locker room as a young guy who loves to learn from the older guys in that offensive line room. So he's just hitting his stride. It's nice to see him out on that field, because I know in the practice field, I've gone up against him a couple of times. And, every time you go up against him, you got to be ready, because if not, he'll punch you right in your chest. That's how strong he is. So, he's only going to get better. He's still a young guy, but, as the reps keep going and he gets better, sky's the limit.
Final question for PJ. Joe Smeltzer.
Hey, PJ, so you've known Keziah for a long time, both Maryland guys. How would you say that he's done this season since making his late debut week 5? And how have you seen him kind of evolve as a person since he got to Penn State?
Yeah, I think he's just getting better and better each week. When he first got back at the Northwestern game, anytime you're coming off of not playing football for a while, you're going to be a little rusty. But then I think that Michigan game, you started to see flashes. And against Minnesota, he was doing a lot of things in the trenches that won't get talked about. He was getting knocked back as a nose, as a 3. He was getting vertical penetration. So, you can tell he's starting to get back to that Keziah from last year. He's done a tremendous job. I'm glad to have him back in the defensive line room. He adds a ton of value to us, and as he knocks that rust off, man, you'll start to see him just make play after play, because that's how dominant of a defensive tackle he can be. Since he's gotten to college, I definitely think he's grown up and he's matured a whole lot. We're young kids when we first get here. We don't know everything, and so once you start to figure everything out, you just get more comfortable in the system on and off the field. And I think that's what, you've seen from Kazai. He's starting to be a great player, but off the field, he's even becoming a better guy. So that's my brother. Love that guy. And, go to war for him.
Thanks, PJ. Really appreciate the time and good luck on Saturday.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, PJ.
By Juice Scruggs. If you have a question for Juice, please use the raise hand feature. I'll call on you to unmute and you can ask Juice your question. Rich Garcella, go ahead.
Hey, Juice, good morning, and how are you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Juice, how would you compare the way you guys played up front against Minnesota to how you played against Michigan? What kind of steps did you take during practice to improve there?
Definitely, after a loss like that, you have to look at yourself as a player in the mirror and figure out what went wrong, and as a whole, we just came in that week of practice and just put our head down and worked. We knew that we had to get better. We knew we had some things to work on, so we just put our head down and went to work. And I would say the whole team had that mindset, and we was just focused on bouncing back after a loss like that.
Tyler Donahue.
Good morning, Juice. I hope you're well today. We saw some moving parts for you guys on the offensive line on Saturday night. Guys going to the sideline, some guys stepping up to different spots. How do you think your group handled that, having to mix and match a little bit during those 4 quarters?
Yeah, I definitely think we were ready for everything. Guys that don't normally play as much were definitely prepared. Like Bryce Effner, he's a huge player for us on the O-line. Could put him basically anywhere. And he just came in, he stepped up, and he knew what to do wherever he was put, right tackle, right guard. Like, he knew what he was doing. And then like the young guys like Venga, he was just ready to go, that was like his second game playing, I think. And he went in and you couldn't even really tell the difference that there wasn't a starter out there, that was a true freshman. So I just think guys just having that mindset, and just you could tell like young guys are starting to learn how to prepare, and they're preparing like a starter, even though they're not, they don't start. It's a good thing to see for sure.
Dan Hope.
Hey, Juice, when you watch Ohio State's defense on film this year, what stands out as different to you than maybe what you've seen in past years?
I wouldn't say different. I would say it's usually the Ohio State defense, fast, and they play aggressive, they play fast, they come off the ball. And I really just think it's not so much about them, it's about us. We have to go out there and play how we play and execute how we're supposed to execute. And I think everything will take care of itself.
Daniel Gallen.
Morning, Juice. You mentioned Vanga earlier. How have you seen him come along this year to put himself into this position? And I guess where would you say he is from where he was in August to now, and how has he been able to get there?
Yeah, he came in quite polished, to be honest, as a true freshman. And he's just got better and better and better. And you can see he takes, like, as a freshman, I'll be honest, me as a freshman, he's way ahead of me. He just takes everything so serious, and you could tell like he's like actually preparing like a starter, like I said. And he just comes in, he asks questions, like if he doesn't know something. He sits like 2 seats away from me in the meeting rooms, and whenever he has a question, he's not afraid to ask. He wants to learn, he wants to get better, and he's going to be a great player for us for sure.
Ron Snyder.
You're from Ohio, just like me. So what does this game mean to you, and finding a way to finally beat Ohio State? What does that mean to you, being from Ashtabula? Don't bring the snow here, though.
Is Juice frozen for everybody else? Okay. Sorry about that. We'll see if we can get him back here. So Zoom just crashed over there at the stadium. They're trying to bring it back up. Apologies. All right, Juice, you got us?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, all right. Ron, what was that question again? See here. Ron, go ahead.
You're from Ohio like me, so what does it mean, to find a way to finally beat Ohio State this year? What are you hearing from your friends back home about this game, and what are you saying to them?
Yeah, I definitely get a hassle from the guys back home, but it's really just not even thinking about it like that. Just thinking about it as another game, taking it that 1-0 approach and just really blocking out that noise, Don't let the Ohio, like all that stuff get to me. Like I know how big this game is, but for me, it's really just focuses in on the detail and the game plan and just really being locked in and just treating it as another game, because that's all it is at the end of the day.
Donnie Collins?
Juice, do you guys, it seemed like you guys got into tempo pretty quick on Saturday and were really unstoppable once you did. How important is it for you guys to be able to play at the tempo you want to play? And what are some of the things that kind of lead you guys to be able to do that?
Really, it's just Coach Yurcich. Coach Yurcich is a great offensive coordinator, and whenever he wants to go tempo, he does. So we're ready for it. But really, we just got to be able to be balanced. If we want to go tempo, beat them with that. But if we want to just slow it down and play real football, just big on big, we got to be able to do that too. So I really think having both of those will help us in the long run.
Andrew Clay?
Hey, Juice. So one of the things Tig had said after Michigan was talking about how the moment was really big and he thought some players maybe just weren't quite there for the moment. This is the next big moment. This is Ohio State. This is a top 5 team. Is there anything you learned from how players handled the road trip to Michigan that you think will help you guys prepare for this one?
Yeah, we definitely we got a lot of young guys on the team, a lot of guys that necessarily are playing a bigger role than they ever played here at Penn State. And I definitely think that was a big challenge for them, as they got their feet wet, they get the experience. But now I think like coming into this game, they know what to expect now. Like I think they're ready. I think I wouldn't say they didn't prepare for the moment correctly, but I just think now they know like, hey, like there's nothing to play with. Like you gotta come out, gotta be ready to fight.
Tyler Donahue?
Yeah, Juice, we've gotten to see Keziah Izzard in game action this month, but last month he was working against you guys on the offensive line. What did you gain from working against the guy who started all those games last year on the scout team? And how do you think it was able to prepare him for getting back into Big Ten play?
Yeah, definitely. Keziah having him back is a huge plus for our defense. Him just when he was on D squad, his mindset, you could just tell like he definitely didn't want to be over there, but like he never like complained or anything. He just came out every day and worked, and it got me better, got the O-line better for sure, and it definitely got him better, because he was treating it like he was getting ready for a game in weeks that he wasn't playing, and I really think that helped, and it's showing because he's starting to, like PJ said, he's starting to get back to himself.
Joe Smeltzer?
Hey, Juice. So the only time that you guys have played Ohio State at Beaver Stadium in front of a full crowd was in 2018 when you were a freshman. That had to have been thrilling for you, right? Being in that environment as a true freshman, but then obviously the result of the game wasn't what you wanted. So what do you remember from that night, being that there were a lot of highs and a lot of lows at the same time?
Yeah, I definitely remember that was a crazy first game against Ohio State to be here. I remember, if I believe correctly, we were up in the fourth quarter. I think scores might be off. I think it was 27-14, and we ended up losing that game. I think 28-27, something like that, close game. And it was just, definitely a heartbreaker, but it was definitely a good learning experience, to learn. You got to find a way to win. You got to find a way to finish games no matter what. You can't take guys lightly. You have to finish. You have to finish them. You got to put the what's the word I'm looking for? Finish the game, while it's in your hands. You can't just think because, oh, we're up. Like, no matter how much time left, that the game's over. The game's never over till that whistle blows. So that definitely was a good learning experience for me personally. And it was definitely a cool moment because that was my first whiteout too. So yeah, looking back, it was a cool moment, but I'm ready to play in it this time.
Few more questions for Juice. Rich Scarcella.
Juice, with Coach Franklin preaching the 1-0 mantra, is it possible to have momentum from a previous week? And do you feel like you guys have momentum after the performance against Minnesota?
Yeah, it's definitely possible for any college football, NFL, like any sport. You definitely have momentum going in from last week if you played good. And I definitely think we got momentum because we bounced back from a tough loss. And the way our offense played in the second half, that's who we are, And I just think I guess you could call it momentum, but I just think we know what we're capable of doing, and we showed it. So now, we got to do it. So at the end of the day, we just got to come out and be ready to play.
Final question for Juice, Colin Gay.
Hey, Juice. Ohio State has a lot of shows a lot of pressure up front, uses a lot of different guys on its defensive line. What have you guys seen from Ohio State's defensive line, and how do you guys prepare for kind of a group that continuously kind of brings more different options up front for you guys to face?
Yeah, they have a good defensive line coach, and you could tell they're coached very well. Very disciplined. They come off the ball, they know what they're doing and they do it well. So it's a matter of us, coming out ready to play and just being on the same page as the offensive line, playing as one and playing for each other. And we do that, we'll be okay.
Juice, really appreciate the time and good luck on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Everyone, please stay on the call as Sean Clifford will be coming up next.